In January 2000, Steve Ballmer, a man who grew up in a simple American family, was appointed CEO of Microsoft. By 2011, the employee had a fortune of $14.5 billion. And, according to Forbes magazine, is the 46th richest man in the world. But what is it? Fraud, magic, or incredible talent as an expert, leader and person? Ballmer became the first billionaire to build his fortune with options from Microsoft. Learn the secrets of Steve Ballmer's success in business and in life. Full name, Stephen Anthony Ballmer. Date of birth, March 24, 1956. Education, BA in Mathematics and Economics from Harvard University, MBA from Stanford University. Foundation period /age 1980, work at Microsoft. Business creation activities. Business specialist. Current occupation, sports, basketball club owner, philanthropic activities. Current fortune, $33.1 billion according to Forbes. Steve Ballmer's life and business success story is the embodiment of the quintessential American dream. As a young man from a not-so-rich family, he excelled in education. But one day he put his life on the line, and he didn't lose. He dropped out of Stanford Business School and shared the ideas and aspirations of his friend Bill Gates. Together they went into business manufacturing computer hardware. Now Stephen is a regular on Forbes' list. A brief biography of the future billionaire Steve Ballmer began on March 24, 1956. He was born and raised in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan, USA. Steve's father, Hans Frederick, emigrated to the US from Switzerland before World War II. At the age of 23, he worked as a manager for an automobile company. His father instilled in Ballmer such qualities as willpower, perseverance, hard work, and perseverance. Ballmer's grandfather, Samuel Dworkin, was a Jew from Belarus. He was a man who came to the United States from Pinsk in the early 20th century and organized the sale of parts for vintage cars in the United States. Steve Ballmer's mother was born and raised in this family. She was American, but of Belarusian, Swiss and Jewish descent. Steve Ballmer has an ambiguous and controversial personality. He is ambitious, charismatic, brilliant and arrogant. Magazines have written about his greed and generosity, kindness and cruelty. What is clear is that during his time at Microsoft he made billions on his salary alone. Math teacher Gerald Hansen, when Steve stood in front of the class and explained the problem. He was swinging his arms around a lot, and the chalk was shaking all over the place. He was writing with one hand and wiping with the other at the same time. There was intellectual energy in this boy. No one could trip him up. In 1973, Steve graduated from Detroit High School. And he decided to go to Harvard Business School. And he got in. During his studies, he not only diligently took classes and courses, but he was also active in the arts and sports. He published 2 college publications and was captain of the soccer team. Through perseverance and hard work, Ballmer earned the respect of his fellow students. He earned a red degree and a bachelor's degree in mathematics and economics. At Harvard University, Steve Ballmer met his future friend and business partner Bill Gates. This meeting was the starting point for Steve Ballmer's future business success. Steve Ballmer remembered joining a leading multinational corporation, Procter & Gamble, in 1977. For 2 years, the young professional worked as an assistant manager. After 2 years as an assistant manager, he decided to leave the company because he couldn't find like-minded colleagues. The billionaire's brief history continued at Stanford Business School, where he enrolled in 1979. In the months leading up to his enrollment, he befriended the founder of Microsoft, which at the time was already on the rise. Today it is one of the 10 most expensive companies in the world. At the time Ballmer had no thoughts of working for the company, but was determined to continue his studies at Stanford University. Fellow student Todd Rich, he was the smartest guy. From the very first moment I talked to him, people recognized his incredible intelligence. Steve was a lively man, both mentally and physically. Steve Ballmer's success story at Microsoft began with his job search. After his freshman year of college, the student wanted a part-time job. He thought of taking a job at Ford Motor Company, where his father worked, doing capital projects for the company. However, in the 1980s, the US auto market was in decline, and there were no job opportunities. That's when Bill Gates showed up and offered to increase his company's staff. Ballmer was to receive $50,000 a year as a starting salary. In addition, Ballmer was to own some stock in the company. His responsibilities, however, included legal, personnel and accounting matters. Steve was most passionate about the human resources department. He conducted a personal interview with each candidate. He chose people who were energetic, persistent, and highly intelligent. Steve Ballmer himself used to say that if you meet the right person on the street, you'll pick them up right away, even if your budget isn't calculated. Some professionals only meet once, and there's no reason not to take advantage of the opportunities that fate presents to you. In the early years, I met everyone in person. I was the hiring manager. I wanted to make sure we were hiring people with great skills and intelligence. The CEO of Microsoft had a very vague idea of programming, but he was a good judge of people. Stephen's colleagues recall hash table questions in which he excelled. Ballmer judged a programmer's level of competence by the way he answered. In 1989, one of Gates's colleagues bought 1 million shares of his company. And by 1993 his personal fortune reached the $1 billion mark. In addition to human resources, Stephen Gates was responsible for operations, sales and technical support. He was personally involved in the development of the first versions of the MS-DOS and Windows operating systems. 20 years ago, in July of '98, Ballmer began running for chairman of the board of directors. And his appointment as CEO in 2000 was the highlight of his short business career. The public was stunned by Bill Gates and endorsed the appointment of his partner and comrade Stephen Ballmer. At the time, Microsoft was threatened by an antitrust lawsuit, and many linked Ballmer's appointment to it. Longtime friends completely dismissed these speculations and rumors, saying, "The bottom line is that this restructuring was long overdue and carefully planned." When litigation became an unavoidable reality and the threat of separation loomed, Steve tried to inspire his team. He urged employees not to lose heart, not to give up, and not to take media reports personally. Stephen Ballmer's commercial success was a well-deserved reward for his courage and optimism. After the sad verdict became known, Ballmer found a way out again. He pretended that nothing had happened, and developed the .NET project. Subsequently, it turned out that web access had to be implemented in an application program. Thus, the CEO distracted the professional world from the sad news. 18 years after Ballmer took the helm at Microsoft, the company regained its confidence and new ideas. 18 years have passed since Ballmer took the helm at Microsoft. The company has grown, embraced new business platforms and gained new users around the world. Much of this success can be attributed to talented and eccentric executives. Stephen Ballmer, the company's CEO, retired 4 years ago. Among the richest men in the world, Stephen Ballmer stands out for his personality. He stands out among other billionaires. He earned his millions as a salaried manager of a private company. He is not the founder of the company, but only an employee. According to Forbes magazine, in 2011 Stephen was the 46th richest man in the world with a fortune of $14.5 billion. And in 2017, he ranked 21st, $30 billion, which is also more than the fortune of China's richest man Wang Jianlin. Stephen has many friends who unanimously call him a workaholic. If he starts work at 7 a.m., he finishes around midnight. For Stephen, a daily routine is not just a word, but a strict rule. Steve's own words. I mark my time in an Excel spreadsheet. I also schedule time with clients and coworkers. I try to stick to a schedule and discipline that I think everyone should have. Friends say I am obsessed with this spreadsheet, but I disagree. I also read my personal emails without the help of colleagues. So if you send me an email, you can be sure I will personally read it. He participates in business forums and IT seminars and is known as a master of unconventional methods of communicating with his colleagues. Sometimes he gives the impression of an unserious person, a kind of sycophant. He likes to make unnecessary jokes about competitors such as Apple. But even under Steve Ballmer the company flourished, sales were up, and profits were impressive. The billionaire's energy, organization and enthusiasm energized the entire team. This determined, honest and dynamic man never rests on his laurels and keeps others on their toes. Ballmer has charisma. Whenever he performs, he jumps up and down. He dances on stage, gestures and waves his arms in the air, professing his love for Microsoft. In 2014, he was named one of the 20 worst CEOs of American companies. The Forbes World Ranking member is married and raising 2 children. It was his wife who encouraged Stephen to take up philanthropy. But when he announced his retirement in August 2014, it was over. He gave a memorable farewell speech at Microsoft's annual staff meeting.